Well, the time is here. Tier 11 beta is live, and this is the first time I'm loading into it. Just got access today and just got the Tier 11 patch notes here as well. So I don't know if any of this is actually going to change once it goes live, but at least we'll be able to check this thing out together. So let's bring up the patch notes now. Let's read through them together, and then we will see what this actually looks like in game. I'm so excited. This is going to be awesome. So here we go. Tier 11. Tier 11 is here. Brave the Bleakstone Peaks and battle the Harpies to collect their valuable components to start crafting the most powerful equipment. And wait a minute, what's a sigil? As items of myth and legend starts being introduced, the value and difficulty of acquiring these items increase proportionally. Tier 11 items are worth roughly double that of Tier 10. However, crafting such items becomes a brand new component, sigils. All right, so there's obviously something brand new that's being introduced into the game. That's a necessary component to craft anything tier 11 or above. The acquisition of tier 11 items will be very limited outside of crafting them, which most likely means that quests will now only drop tier 10 items, or it will be very rare that it will drop tier 11 items. Sounds like it. And we've noticed that the vast majority of profit for late game players is coming with free items from quests and from Tower, from Polonia, that sort of thing. So it sounds like they want to reduce that and keep it pretty exclusive to where you can get tier 11 items, which I think makes a lot of sense. Players of level 60 and up can trade tier 11 items on the market. Heroes of level 32 and up can wield tier 11 items, so that's on par. And sounds like Bleak Spire Peak requires player level 62 to unlock with gold, which makes sense. So sigils, here we go. A brand new special component requiring to craft any tier 11 item. The Sigil of Might, Sigil of Grace, and Sigil of Spark are available almost exclusively through fusion. Interesting. Each of them requires a flawless tier 6 plus alongside some components found at the peak. So it sounds like you're going to need to combine components of flawless tier 6 to make a sigil, which you can't rush with energy if this is fusion. Sounds like it does not follow the rules, as you can see, of full moon fusion, so it sounds like anybody can make that at any time, which is great. It's not just a paid only thing. So let's move on. So guild boosts, they're being changed. The guild boost mechanic has been simplified, although its function remains the same. Upgrading a guild boost will increase its boost permanently, as it is no longer tied to the time remaining. Interesting. So that means that when you were upgrading before a guild boost, it would say, okay, now this is 360 minutes or 480 minutes or whatever longer. But now that it's being changed, it sounds like the guild boost will just be a flat rate. And when you upgrade it, it will just increase the effectiveness of the boost. The efficiency of a guild boost will no longer be reduced as time passes, although it will be inactive if time runs out. So I think that's a fantastic change. I think that's really, really good, because then it's not like you have to go up to 5 days of a boost just to get maximum boost, but you can just do 1 or 2 days at a time for an event and not waste as much if your guild is wanting more long-term benefits. So that's actually really, really nice. I like that change a lot. Next, we have Titan classes. So there's a couple changes to the Monk and Thief, which you can see there. The default sorting of furniture found in basement hasn't been improved, so I think that's really nice, because sometimes it's super random, so hopefully that's a lot cleaner and easier to function with. And players now receive special notifications about guild promotions, demotions, new members, and members leaving, so that's cool, because sometimes it's easy to miss those in chat. They've changed Emerald Inn and Tavern to be easier to get now that obviously it's getting higher and higher and higher, the levels necessary to keep up with all the different questing areas, which I think is really nice. And then other than bug fixes, just 2 more. Increase the moonstone cost of several full moon fusions, particularly ones related to chests. So I'm assuming that they're just noticing that moonstones are getting incredibly easy to come by. There's just tons of them out there. And so if they make them in more demand for especially the ones to do with chests, which is probably the ones that are used most often, then there will be more of a demand on moonstones, which is probably necessary at this point. And tier 10 items have their milestone upgrades updated to accommodate the unlocking of tier 11, which is also standard. Each time a new tier has come out, the milestone upgrades change with the previous one to allow the tier 11 to be upgraded at a certain milestone for tier 10. So likely that'll be the tier 2 resource reduction is changed on most of them. At least that's what it was previously, but we'll see how that goes. So that's it for notes. So let's finally get into the beta and we'll see what all these things actually look like. Let's go. So this is actually in beta. This isn't live. So I'm not sure entirely what this is going to look like, but we will see. Okay, so let's go directly into crafting menu, and likely when we click on things, there will be tier 11s. Let's go. Tier 11 sword. Okay, so that's what a sigil looks like. Sigil of Might, Boreal Gale. Wow, 23 milestones, ascensions, multi-craft component spend, resources spend. So that's pretty standard as far as previous blueprints go. Wow, that axe is awesome. Manticore Slayer. Okay, interesting. So most of these should be pretty standard, so let's just look through them all together. This is my first time seeing any of these guys, by the way, so this is super exciting. Heat Seeker, that looks super cool. So that's Grace instead of the Power Sigil. Wow. Thorium Hammer, that's so cool. Very cool. Titania's Gift. Stormrend. Yo, that looks so cool. Draconic Eye Stalk. Penumbra. These are so much easier to say than some of the previous ones that they've made. I really like that. Wow, this gun. Look at that. That's so cool. It looks so futuristic. That's awesome. Omega Disintegrator. I like it. Leviathan. Yo, that's so cool. So base value for these 1.9 million, and that's without even the 1.25 times. So base value will be like 2.2 million or something along those lines. Wow, that's crazy. Actually more than that, right? With 25%. 2.5 million potentially. So cool. Celestial Plate. That looks so cool. Nice. Everdusk Lord Attire. The robes. That's cool. I like that. Here's the other one. Spark. Okay. Celestial Fume. Everdusk Cowl. What is that? Like ears? That's ridiculous. I like it. Veil. Okay, that's cool. I hope that goes with like a themed, like when you wear like a full set of these, it's actually themed. Man, I hope at some point in the future. Oh, those are very simplistic. That's cool. I hope in the future they make it so you can actually change what certain things look like. That would be really cool. And Everdusk boots. Okay. Herbal medicine. Wow, that's cool. Looks like ink. Distilled nebula. Celestial choir. Wow, that's cool. Bearded paragon. Wow, that's such a cool ring. Rubicon prism. Okay, so a lot of these are not as valuable. I must have just clicked on a really valuable one because the last one was only 1.4 million. For Singaman. Man, that is cool. All right, so there's all of our items. Let's go to our fusion menu and let's see what it looks like to actually fuse. Sigils. Okay, there we go. So Sandra level 28, which I don't have, but I can still look at it. So tier 6 flawless and above, 3 and 3. Interesting. So 2 hours, 33 minutes with my current levels on everyone. I think it's quite a bit lower than that when you have Max Sandra. I think it's more like an hour and a half from what I've heard. They were just talking earlier today, so I'm not 100% sure. All right, cool. So now let's go check out the quest area. Okay, here we go. Quest area. All unlock. 250 mil or 4K gems. I don't have the gold, so we'll just go with gems. That's fine. It's just a beta. Talons, eggshells. Can I look at this? There we go. Talons, eggshells, and harpy nest. Or no, talons, eggshells, and leeks and boreal gale. Okay, so those are our 3. And the areas are Harpy Nest, Bleak Spire Summit, and Dire Mountain Pass. Okay, cool. And then boss area is Bleak Spire Nest. So it looks like you're fighting some giant bird looking thing. And pretty standard upgrades from there. Hard difficulty, quest times, rest times, XP bonuses. Perfect. So let's try to get through some of these quests and see what the drops look like. That's so cool. So you're fighting like an owl. That's so cool. And it's in the trees in the mountains. That looks so cool. I like it. Oh, there's the new chest we got. Excellent. So we can open that as well. Nope, we can't. I don't have royal. All right, hopefully we get one though. All right, there's our first chest. Excellent. All right, so it looks like tier 10s are dropping. Got big moonstones. Excellent. So let's look at this brand new chest. All right, bleak chest. We've got chest exclusives now. Let's go. So we got Phoenix Litany. Awesome. So it looks like a tier 9 fire enchanted, which makes me think that tier 11 enchantments are not coming because this looks the same as tier 9, so they would not look that way unless they needed it to do this. Yeah, we don't really know, obviously, but okay. Monsoon Heart, water, Bleak Spire Roots, cool. Last Breath, Sunglow Impact, that is cool. I like that. An Abyssal Hood. Alright, so pretty standard, one of each element there. Very cool. So let's open this guy up. 500 gems for an open. Here we go. Components, and research scrolls. So 500 gems and 50 scrolls. I'm assuming that means that it'll be 50 ascension shards as well. So I'm going to do much more quests, and hopefully we can open up some more chests here as well. So let's do that. All right, so I got 4 more chests here. So let's see if we can get some shards or a nice blueprint or something. We'll see. All right, so we got 20 coins from that one. We'll see if 20 coins is consistent or if there's a range. 20 coins again. There we go, 50 shards. So 500 gems for 50 shard drop. I'm interested to see how that lines up with the other chests in terms of shards per gem, but that's very cool. Oh, there's a nice epic. Very cool. Let's see what that thing's worth. 4.35 million for an epic. Oh man, some of these king sales are just going to be off the charts. Amazing. So good. All right, so I've been messing around with a few more things here, and I just want to share some thoughts that I have around the expansion as a whole, because I don't want this to drag on, and obviously you guys are going to be playing this sooner than later anyways, and hopefully I'll be playing it on stream as well. So here's kind of my thoughts at this point. Obviously, with the release of tier 10, we've all been kind of concerned, okay, what happens when the energy continues to increase and increase with what's needed to surcharge something, and is the time to make things and the difficulty to make it, you know, increasing exponentially with the value, which totally makes sense. But what does that actually mean, you know, for for us as players, because obviously it changes the dynamic a ton when with tier 9 with max energy you can small talk once and surcharge anything instantly, and then with tier 10, you know, it increases to 1600 energy instead of 800. And now if you look at it to surcharge, we're looking at 2400 energy. Okay, so in the grand scheme of things, it takes, you know, less than an hour to craft a tier 10 right now. Okay, now in order to rush it, you're looking at over 2000 energy, or, you know, the high thousands anyway of energy to rush from like a full timer all the way down. So if you know, craft, let's say, let's do a tier 10, you look at 1800 energy to rush that craft, right? So it's taking you 40 minutes to craft a tier 10. Once it's done and you go to surcharge it, you're looking at 1600 energy or something like that, right? 1700 energy for these. Now, if you go over here and this costs 2400 energy, I mean, if it's double the price, you're looking at 2 million, 2.2 million base value plus a surcharge, you're looking at 4 million. So it is double of what it is for a tier 10 with, you know, 800 more energy to surcharge it. So, I mean, double for 800 more energy actually is fairly reasonable, because per energy, technically, you're making more gold. But when you think about it in a different perspective, you're still waiting on even more RNG. You need 3 successful small talks in a row without discount items. Well, I guess you would still need discount items with how the percentages work and all that. So you would need them in a row to surcharge 1 tier 11. Now, in that time, you could be surcharging 3 tier 9s with 3 successes without RNG, or 1.5 tier 10s with RNG still included, right? But when you take Sigil into account, okay, so if you go to fuse Sigil, I don't have Sandra high enough level. On my actual account I do, but on beta version I don't. So if this takes 2 hours 33 minutes and you can't rush it with energy, and with max workers I hear it's an hour and a half, but even if it is an hour and a half, you add an hour and a half for every single Sigil, plus it's going to take you an hour and 20 minutes to actually craft the item, or 3000 energy or whatever it is to actually rush the item. You're adding an hour and a half, 2 hours to make one item that then takes even more energy to surcharge. Like, when you take all of that into account, knowing that you can't rush it with energy for fusion, basically, in my mind, it doesn't make any sense to craft tier 11s long term. Like, sure, all of us super high level players are going to go through the motions and master them all, but then I guarantee you that we're all going to go back to crafting tier 9s and tier 10s, unless there's like crazy tier 11s that are best in slot that are going for 1,000 gems for, you know, legendaries or whatever. But for the most part, it's not going to make any sense for the average player to be crafting a tier 11 item. If it takes an hour and a half to make one mandatory item for one craft that you can't rush unless you gem it, plus it takes way more energy to be able to surcharge, 2400 energy for this. That's with a 10% discount, by the way. Plus it's taking even longer to craft, and you need to spend components to make the sigil, plus components to make the item. There's so much that's needed to craft a tier 11, and selling them is never going to be efficient compared to the lower tiers with everything else considered. Plus the way that they have the beta right now, that you can't rush sigils with energy, I honestly think that it's not going to make any sense for the average player to be making a tier 11 item, unless you're just mastering it or crafting best in slot items. But generally we're going to be sticking with tier 9s and tier 10s. I mean, when I think about rushing something like a net worth leaderboard, for example, if the base value is 2.2 million, but the fastest right now is tier 9s double enchanted, which is a 2 million sale anyway, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 million with rounding, then even still, like, tier 11s might be faster, but because they're not dropping from quests, they're not going to be as readily available as tier 10. They're not going to get down to like base value like tier 10 has, because it's going to be so difficult to craft them that I think that they're going to stay really expensive in market. So even still, it's not going to be cost effective to be using them to rush net worth. And so most likely people who are rushing net worth for leaderboards are still going to be using, you know, tier 9s, tier 10s to do that, and not tier 11s, because it's not going to be nearly as cost effective. And in terms of the energy needed to surcharge, it still doesn't make sense to do that when you can use that energy to get net worth up faster otherwise. So everything considered, unless there's a major change, I really don't see tier 11s being like a viable way to play the game long term if you're just trying to make profit. It'll be interesting to see if they do anything different compared to, you know, what the way that things are set up now. And I know that we've voiced some opinions about it recently, like with the content creator program and stuff, and us just saying like, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Nobody's going to be doing this. It's way too much of a demand for time. So I don't know how it's all going to work out, but I'll be very interested to see. Like, this was honestly what our biggest fear was as players going into tier 11, was thinking the energy is going to be super high, the gold isn't going to compensate, making the items is going to take too long and be too much energy anyways, and overall it's just not going to make any sense to do it. Because tier 10 honestly felt like you either have max energy and don't craft and you just sell to make money, or you basically don't sell and surcharge and you just craft and use the extra energy to speed up stuff, and that's it. That's your two choices. You either craft and have a bunch of bins out, or you don't craft and you have no bins out. That's literally the only ways that you can play this. But tier 11 just feels impossible either way. There's no possible way that with 3,000 energy with tons of bins out like I have in my basement right now, like there is no, oh, and they organized it though. Okay, so this is nice. It's actually organized. Looks like alphabetically. No, not alphabetically. Still though, that's awesome. But like, that was our greatest fear. It's like, if you have 3,300 energy, there's no way you're ever going to try to surcharge something that's over half of your total energy, when you could be surcharging something for 30% of your energy that's worth half that amount. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense, especially with how difficult that they're going to be to acquire. So I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I don't want to ramble too much, but hope you guys enjoyed my first ever look at the beta. I know I did. I think the art is fantastic. I think the concept is really cool. I think the quest area is really sweet. But I'm very interested to see how this actually plays out long term in game, and if we're actually going to be utilizing tier 11, or if this is going to be a bit of a dud in terms of how it actually functions with the current game, unless they do something drastically different. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Love you all. And have a good one. We'll talk soon. Peace.